We already went over our Eastern Conference pretenders and contenders in our last video, and it's only right that we do the same in the Western Conference. So this video, we have pretenders and contenders from the Western Conference. Coming in at the 1 seed with an 8-game lead for the best record in the NBA, the Phoenix Suns. Although the Phoenix Suns have no Chris Paul for the next 6 to 8 weeks, the important thing is that he'll be back for the playoffs, and at this point, that is when you really want Chris Paul in your lineup, is in the playoffs when winning really matters and where he can truly make an impact. You have an 8-game lead for the best record in the NBA. There's a 90% chance that they're going to finish the number 1 seed in the Western Conference regardless, so there's absolutely no rush to rush Chris Paul back. And this isn't the first time they played without Chris Paul. They played without him multiple times in the playoffs last year on their way to the finals run. This team embodies the next man up mentality, and they really have a deep rotation that allows them to be flexible. They have guys, of course they have Devin Booker and Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton, Cameron Johnson, Mikal Bridges, Jay Crowder, JaVale McGee, Elfrid Payton, Ishmael Wainwright, Landry Shamet, Aaron Holiday, Bismack Biyombo, Cameron Payne, Torrey Craig. And the thing is, all those guys I just named play and contribute to this team one way or the other. They play without Chris Paul just fine, with a big thanks to Devin Booker in extreme performances from backup guard Cam Payne, who had one of his best games ever in Chris Paul's absence in the Western Conference Finals against the Clippers, where he notched 29 points, 9 assists, and 0 turnovers. I know Chris Paul was ecstatic. Now recently, with Devin Booker going into COVID protocol, they have now played their last 2 without Chris Paul and Devin Booker. 2 games, 2 wins, no problem. This team is dominant. First they come out and they dominate a young Portland team after getting teed up to some NBA YoungBoy in the warm-ups. That game they had 35 assists as a team, so you take away the 2 stars and these guys still get it done. Then all they do the next game is then play the Knicks and come back from down 14 in the 4th quarter. Not to mention that was against a Knicks team who was playing great and had all momentum going their way. This team is well-rounded. During that comeback, you had big-time threes by Jay Crowder, Mikal Bridges, Aaron Holiday, Cameron Johnson, of course. But the last play specifically to win them the game, there are so many players to give props to on that play. Securing the rebound is the first step. And guess who did that? Their all-around wing, Mikal Bridges. A guy who can hit threes. A guy who guards every opponent's best player. And a guy who's out there every single night fighting for his team. Mikal Bridges secures the rebound. The next step is to find your point guard. If you remember, just a couple games ago, they played the Jazz. Similar situation. The Jazz miss a free throw. Suns have a chance to go down and win the game. They're going to get it above half court so Monty Williams can call a timeout. Jay Crowder throws the ball away trying to give it to D-Book. Just a miscommunication, but more ways PG needs to come to the ball or you need to find your PG automatically. Because there was a little bit of delay in Jay Crowder, which is kind of what caused that whole turnover. This is where we get flowers to Cam Payne, because there's another part to that. Cam Payne, you are the point guard. Make the right play. Whatever that may be. That may be scoring. That might be finding an open teammate. That might be having the hockey assist. Whatever the best play or the right play may be, point guard, it's your job to do that. And last but not least, when your number's called, when you have an opportunity, answer it. Cam Johnson had a career high 38 points and the game-winning 3. The new big 3 or the wing big 3, Cam Johnson, Mikal Bridges, and Jay Crowder alone combined for 72 out of the 115 points. Someone calling the game the other night against Portland said, if you give me this team without Devin Booker and Chris Paul, this team right here on the floor could still manage to be an A seed. I agree with that comment. And for that comment alone, the Suns are definitely contenders. Now on to the 2 seed. The Golden State Warriors have shown their back to being one of the best teams in the league in growing their young guys in the process, like Jordan Poole, Jonathan Kuminga, Juan Toscano-Anderson, and Moses Moody. Pair those young guys that you're prepping with the already proven big three of Steph, Klay, and Draymond. And now the Warriors are back to their winning formula of having a balanced and deep team. The formula is if you can have a roster made up of 7 to 9 guys that you can trust, who know their role. Andre Iguodala's back in the mix, there's a vet there. Having these older guys who've experienced things and are able to give confidence and game to these young guys are exactly what the Warriors are looking for. Although we've seen peaks with Steph and Klay on the floor, the big three are yet to play. Draymond has been out ever since Klay's debut with a back injury, and eventually you're going to get Wiseman and Draymond back. The Warriors are only 15-13 without Draymond Green this year, and now they're on a 3-game losing streak, with 2 of those coming to the Mavericks. One where the Mavericks made a 26-1 run in the 4th quarter to come back on the Warriors, who once led by 21 points. A couple nights after that, they have a bad loss by 15 points to the Minnesota Timberwolves. Then they play the Mavericks again after Luka completed a magnificent comeback at your house, I may add. And Luka proceeds to give them 41 points, 10 rebounds, and 9 assists. But there's light on the other side of this, because if you want a dip in your play to happen, you want it to happen right before All-Star break or right after All-Star break during the dog days. So as I said earlier, they'll get Draymond and Wiseman back. As long as they keep winning, they'll be fine at the 2nd seed. But with them being on a 3-game losing streak, that's bad news, because there's a young team in the Western Conference coming in at the 3rd seed, the Memphis Grizzlies, who are young and fearless, and they're only a half game back from that 2nd seed. Now, with the Grizzlies losing to the Celtics the other night too, that gave the Warriors just a little bit of breathing room, but just a little bit. The only downfall with this Grizzlies team is their pros are their cons as well. Being young and fearless and playing with house money as a pro. We've heard the stories of Desmond Bane shooting a 3 and LeBron stumping behind him. Desmond Bane hits the 3, he looked back at LeBron and said, them footsteps ain't scaring nobody. We remember the incident with them and the Lakers trash talking, because when you're young and you're fearless, you don't know any better. You just know we're playing well, we're doing everything everyone said we couldn't do, and we believe in us, so we gonna talk about it. They follow their point guard's lead in John Morant, who's fearless. He tries to dunk on anyone, he goes at anyone. He has turned the Grizzlies into must-see TV, and he has skipped the star status. He went from we see the potential that he can have to a straight-up superstar. And he gave us a little glimpse of it last year when they played Utah and he had 47 in the playoffs, because he's had countless 30 and 40-point games this season. As good as he is, this team is playing with house money. They have no pressure. All they need to do is make it out of the 1st round, and this season automatically becomes a success because you've already overachieved. No one's seen you guys being this high in the standings, and you make it out the 1st round, you've already done enough. The 4th seed, the Utah Jazz, coming in at a very similar spot as the Memphis Grizzlies, as in, they're always truly in the mix. 1st seed last year, somewhere between the 3rd and 6th seed the year before, but they can never get over that hump. They're a great regular season team, but I don't think that they put any fear in the Western Conference of these other opponents. I actually think out of the top 4 teams of the Western Conference, this is the team other teams may try to match up with to try to get an easy 1st round. But one thing that's for sure is this team is consistent, and there is nothing easy with Rudy Gobert down there in the paint. This team also has a valid 5 to 6 scorers who can legitimately score. Led by Donovan Mitchell, the Utah Jazz have high hopes coming off of them losing in the 2nd round to the Clippers. And although they've been up and down with injuries and of course losing Joe Ingles, this team does look completely different with Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell in the mix. But I don't see them ever getting over the hump. Especially, I don't see them beating these 3 teams ahead of them. And for that reason, they're a pretender. That's it, man. Those are the 4 teams in the West. The Suns, the Warriors, the Grizzlies, and the Jazz. Leave in the comments, are they pretenders or contenders?